Baylan's skull is going down a dark path to imminent destruction, and he has absolutely no idea. Greetings, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the Archives. The season finale of Ahsoka is here, and the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord gave us something truly special to sink our teeth into. One of the most focal points of the episode, and things we've been waiting for, is some answers concerning what Baylan's skull is actually after. This last episode left us off on a multifaceted cliffhanger, with each character having their own unfinished task ahead of them. This was one of the only episodes to not feature a whole lot of Baylan or Shin, yet when we get back to the Dark and Fallen Jedi, there was a shock in store for us. There Baylan was, standing atop the hand of a massive statue. A statue of the father of Mortis. The father pointing off into the distant mountain range right next to the son of Mortis. Baylan's quest is almost complete, and it has brought him face to face with the memory of the ones. But for us, it only opens up a new chapter and another journey for ourselves, one that we will explore in this new video. So stay with us as we talk about the massive reveal and all the implications of Baylan's path of destruction. Before we talk about Baylan, we should definitely talk about the strange statues that are on Peridea. It is astonishing that not only do the Night Sisters have imagery of the ones in human form, but they also know of the father himself. The reason this is strange is because traditionally the Night Sisters only mentioned and worshipped the son and the daughter in their bestial forms. They referred to them as the Fanged God and the Winged Goddess respectively. These of course referring to the gargoyle and griffin forms that the two most commonly take. In Mother Talzin's chapter in the Book of the Sith called Wild Power, she details their worship of these two deities, and how Talzin believes that different facets of their magic come and stem from the ones of Mortis. However, she makes absolutely no mention of the father in this chapter, or even hints at the lore behind why they worship the son and the daughter respectively. For the longest time, it was simply assumed by our researchers that the Night Sisters had a run-in at some point in time with the son and daughter in their bestial forms, and because of this, began to worship them ever since due to their divine powers. This actually falls in line with what we know of the ones, as it is normally the son and the daughter traversing the galaxy without the father, before they were all locked on the world of Mortis. The fact that not only did the Night Sisters know of their human forms, but also of the father as well, is something huge. This tells us that the ones have been to Peridea before, or it's not too much of a stretch to start talking about the possibility of the ones having originated from Peridea itself, with the father outstretching his left hand and pointing off into the crevices of the mountainside, showing us that many secrets continue to lie dormant on this world. But that's not the only thing that has been lying dormant apparently. According to some passive dialogue from Ezra Bridger, we find out that the Night Mothers have apparently been in some sort of hibernation or stasis this entire time. When Thrawn arrived on the world, he woke them up, which now explains why they serve him so loyally. He brought them out of their slumber and promised them an ultimate way off of Peridea, which he now has delivered upon. But what is giving us pause for concern is the notion that all of this is leading up to something dangerous. Why are there images of the ones in Peridea? Why are the Night Mothers so eager to leave this world? And why is Baylan the only one who seems to want to be there? The answer is quite simple, and the one that the show is now basically telegraphing. The Queen of the Stars, Abeloth. Baylan is likely heading towards his own doom, and likely the doom of many others. Baylan speaks of a new beginning while willfully blinding himself to the fact that Peridea is a place of death and decay. The Purgles go there to die, literally surrounding the planet with death in the form of their graveyard. A dead civilization dots the entire surface of the planet. Not one who lives there wants to be there. Even the death-worshipping Night Sisters are eager to leave. Yet, here is Baylan, one who believes that he knows the answer. Perhaps he believes that he is the answer. Baylan desperately wants to believe that he is the savior of the Force and the memory of the Jedi. His best chance to keep his ideals alive was to embrace a larger point of view and use all of the Force without barring himself off from any part of it. Unlike most Darksiders, Baylan doesn't drone on about the power of the dark side or the great strength that it offers him, nor does he give lofty speeches about the all-consuming and domineering way of the dark. In fact, Baylan has yet to really even mention the dark side. This, coupled with the orange blades, has already shown us that these two are just different. Baylan doesn't believe in just the dark side. He believes in the Force. Perhaps he even thinks that he is one in the middle, and is fully convinced that he could become like a Bendu. Yet, Baylan is snared by the dark side and blind to its trappings. His zealous nature for the survival of his ambition keeps him from seeing what he is truly walking headfirst into, which is the arms of Ragnarok. The light he believes still guides him is a false light, and this can be mostly noticeable when we see he's standing on the statues. We have the statues of the father and the son, but the daughter is noticeably missing. The remains of her bust can be seen, but the head is missing, and the whole thing is eroding away. Only the father and the son remain. One is balance, the other is darkness. This clearly represents how Baylan sees himself as he stands high upon the arm of the father, perceiving his role as one to bring true balance to the Force. But the light within him has eroded, and the darkness is left and is now growing rapidly. However, the absence of the daughter could also be speaking to something else. Perhaps the daughter has been replaced. Ahsoka the White now roams these lands, as she is learning more about the light side each and every time we see her. We've talked quite a bit about this before, but we have to mention again how important this truly is. This is visually showing us that Ahsoka is replacing the daughter in real time. Ahsoka's ultimate destiny is to take this mantle and become the light in the galaxy by being a traveling Ronin, spreading light and life to all those who need her help. The imagery of the daughter is still showing up, but not in the ways that you would expect. The statue of the daughter is gone, but now Moray has returned. This bird, which was the servant of the daughter, now continues to serve Ahsoka and has shown up to her yet again. I think that this is quite telling, and is now a confirmation that Moray has switched allegiances, and sees Ahsoka Tano as the new daughter, Master of the Light. But speaking of the statues, what is the father pointing at? Where is Baylan's journey going to take him? It could be leading him to another gateway to the world between worlds. This wouldn't be the first time this imagery of the Ones was associated with this passage and going into this realm. The painting on Lothal of the Ones was the first time that we got access to this brand new dimension that Anakin now rules. It was the daughter though who opened that portal and the son who closed it. By placing one's hand on theirs and using the Force, this would cause the portal between the worlds to open and come to life. So here now we have again images of the Ones, with their hands featured prominently, or at least the father's, pointing off towards a mountain range with a strange light gleaming from one of the peaks. We can still use our original speculation that it is indeed a path to the world between worlds, but we have far more evidence to suggest something else. Shadows in the starlight. That's what Sabine said at the very end while surveying the terrain of Peridea, feeling something stirring deep within the Force. At the end, we got an image of Anakin's Force ghost smiling as he looked on his apprentice and the next generation of Jedi. Yet, we can't help but worry about the eerie wording that Sabine chose. Shadows in starlight. This tells us a different story, one that is truly a false hope and a false light leading only to darkness. The beloved Queen of the Stars, the bringer of chaos, Abeloth is calling. The Ones have now taken physical form, even the father, and this has to be literally pointing towards something dangerous. The reason Peridea is surrounded by death, a bringer of chaos. They are pointing towards the cage of Abeloth. In the old Legends tale, Abeloth was once the mother who lived with the Ones on a jungle planet before she was corrupted and turned into a monster. The original planet of the Ones was never given a name, but perhaps now Peridea is that world. It would make sense why there's so much imagery of the Ones here, and why the Night Sisters are desperately trying to leave. When the Ones died in the Clone Wars, this was what began the decline of their society, and the chains that held Abeloth back were weakened. She is strong enough to once again influence the planet, and her vile power has seeped into its very veins, sending a message across the stars to someone to free her from her bondage. Abeloth is famous as presenting herself as a false light, endearing Force sensitives to her and to obey her will. And perhaps this isn't the first time that she has tried to reach out to someone sufficiently strong in the dark side. In the canon novel Aftermath, the Imperial counselor named Gallius Rax said this about Emperor Palpatine. The Emperor was convinced that something waited for him out there, some origin of the Force, some dark presence formed of malevolent substance. He said he could feel the waves of it radiating out now that the way was clear. The Emperor called it a signal, conveniently one that only he could hear. Even his greatest enforcer, Vader, seemed oblivious to it. And Vader also claimed mastery over the Dark Force, did he not? Rax believed that Palpatine had gone mad. No, my friends, Palpatine was not crazy. At least not about this. Of anyone in the Force, Sidious is the last person to claim that he's hearing things. And if this malevolent force was calling to him on a frequency only he could feel, it may have likely been because of how deeply he was in the dark side. When he mentions the way being clear, this is an obvious reference to how the Jedi are no longer polluting his vision within the light. The light side likely causes interference when Abeloth was trying to call to Sidious, but she could sense his darkness from across the stars, and reached out to him because she knew that he was the most likely to find her. While he never did, it seems odd that Darksiders are being pulled towards the unknown expanses of space for unexplained reasons. While our evidence is loose at first glance, it only takes a moment's thought to begin putting all of the pieces together. Right now, it's still too early to fully be able to confirm or deny whether Abeloth calls or her ultimate involvement in the endgame, but our evidence is piling up by the day. But of course, what do you think, my friends? Do you agree with us and say that Baylan is heading towards his doom? Or do you think that it could be something else? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, may the Force be with you, and be wary of dreams and madness.